tend to be a very introverted person. And over the last few years, as I've recognized the limitations that introversion has placed on me, I've really committed to working those weaknesses out. And what happened is that throughout most of my my teenage years and then my early career, what happened was that I was really bought into the fact that I am an introvert, and I'm totally happy with that, and that I'm just going to work on my strength of introversion. And so I wouldn't have any problem locking myself in a room and working hard and doing all this stuff and not socializing. And I felt honestly good about that. I didn't feel like I needed a lot of extroversion. But what I found is, after I've discovered that what I wanted to really be doing with my life is to sharing some of the wisdom that I've discovered through all my research on personal development, going out there and sharing that information, which is what I'm doing right now, I've discovered that I need more extroversion, because being as introverted as I was starting to see the limitations of that. For example, I started to notice that, well, I would need to be able to go out and interview people, because interviewing people gives me more understanding about how personal development works. It's hard to really know personal development just from your own personal experiences, especially if you want to help other people. You want to go out there and see what are the differences, what are the similarities. So being able to interview people means you have to be more social, which is something that I wasn't comfortable with. Also, I noticed problems with relationships that I was having. I wasn't having the kind of dating life that I wanted to have. I wasn't even having the kind of social life that I wanted to have with friends, and even simple things like being able to have just like a random chit chat with a stranger or like a store clerk. So I found that was holding me back. And then of course, public speaking was something that I wanted to get into, and I saw that I needed to get into it. I needed to break out of my shell to get into public speaking so I could be a better communicator, better deliver that message. And also being a better leader, being able to lead people with ideas and understanding how to lead them through words, through speech, through emotions. So for me, that's been a journey, and it's been really hard, because being very introverted, that was a weakness of mine, is going out there and socializing. That was like an uphill battle for me. I had to struggle through it, and I had to keep struggling, and I'm still going through that process right now. It's still very challenging. And what I've discovered, though, is that if I really want to live into my full potential and live the kind of life that I envision for myself, the kind of life that I see myself living 5-10 years from now, I really see the importance of working on the weaknesses. Because if all I did was I focused on my strengths, in this case, let's say introversion, and I'm also a very logical, analytical person, if I just focused on those, then I would be limited in how much impact I could have. I couldn't really be doing what I'm doing right now. And what I'm doing right now is still something that I'm growing into, and I'm developing my speaking skills, my communication skills. So all of that stuff, I would be limited in the message that I could do. So maybe if my work was being a programmer, for example, maybe that wouldn't be as important. But because I chose to go into speaking and coaching and motivation and personal development, and I have this blog, I had to really commit to this idea that I had to work on my weaknesses too. And as I've been doing that for the last 3 years or so, I've really taken this to heart, that I'm going to fix this extreme introversion that I had. I found a lot of benefits by having a better dating life, better confidence, better friends, being more social, just being even more comfortable when I'm at the store and I'm having a random conversation with a clerk, or going to get a haircut, and being able to, instead of what I had before was I would just sit there in silence and sit there in some awkward situation, here now I'm able to have a decent conversation, actually have fun, being able to flirt and being able to crack jokes, that kind of stuff. It just makes me happier to be able to do that. So in this case, working on my weaknesses was really, really great, and I'm still going to continue to do that, even though it's challenging. So that's the trick, is that if you're living a comfortable life, then you're going to tend to not want to work on your weaknesses, because working on your weaknesses is challenging. It's much easier to focus on your strengths. But back to this idea that really it's a false dichotomy. It's not going to be the case that you work just on your strengths or you work just on your weaknesses. You really want to do both. Because, for example, for me, even though I'm trying to be more extroverted, I'm going out there, I'm socializing, I'm pushing myself on that front, I'm also spending a lot of my time on my strengths. One of my biggest strengths is being open-minded and analytical, and being a critical thinker. I think that's my top strength. And so the way that I work on that is by all the reading that I do, all the research that I do, all the studying that I do, all the note-taking that I do, these blogs where I do a lot of analysis, writing articles, that sort of thing. So all of that is working on my analytical strength. And that analytical strength is going to be really the thing that gets me material success. So that's if you're trying to build a good career or a job or a business or be successful with money, then that's where your strengths are going to come in, and working on those and really focusing on those. And for me, doing that right now is really rewarding. It feels more natural. It feels easier, much easier than going out there and socializing. And a lot of times I have this trade-off between, do I want to go out and hang out with friends and spend a few hours doing that, or do I want to spend those couple of hours, reading a good book or shooting a video or taking some notes, something like that. And a lot of times I will prefer to do the thing that I'm strong in. So I want to be analytical. I'd rather sit and read a book for 2 hours than go out there and socialize at a bar with some friends for 2 hours. But I also realize that if I want to get to where I want to get to, if I want to live the kind of life that I imagine for myself 10 years from now, where I'm out there doing speaking and I'm influencing people and I know a lot about personal development and I'm able to communicate that effectively, and I'm also having the kind of friends that I want, and I'm also having the kind of relationships that I want, I realize that I need to go out there and push myself on the introversion front, and push myself out of my comfort zone there. So it's a balance, and it's tough. It's something I have to work through, and I'm always kind of tempted to go one direction or the other. So the bottom line here, and Eben Pagan talks about this, is that if you want to be really successful in your career or in your business, focus on your strengths. Because your strengths, when you focus on them, they start to generate value. That value that you're generating for other people. So in your job, if you're great at programming, focus on that. If you're great at being analytical, focus on that. If you're great at interacting with people, focus on that. And then you're going to tend to see that if you do that and you set up circumstances properly, then you're going to get the financial rewards and the success that comes from that. But if you want to be a well-rounded person overall, and you see yourself stifled in certain ways and limited in certain ways by other factors in your life, like factors that are not brought up to the same level as your strengths, then those are your weaknesses. And to get the best personal development, not your business side handled, but your personal development, you're going to want to look at your weaknesses, and you're going to want to round yourself out as a human being. And both of those things, I think, should be pursued. The question is, which of those is right for you at this moment right now? If you want to work and focus more on your career and your business, then you're probably going to want to take that strengths assessment and take a look. How do you incorporate more of those strengths in your day-to-day? How do you incorporate more of that in your business life, in your career, at your job? And that's going to make you really fulfilled. And then if you're struggling, if you're seeing that you're struggling, that you're pretty good with your career and your business and you're happy with that, and maybe you're struggling in certain areas of your life, like maybe you have a trouble with the work-life balance and you're not having the kind of relationships that you want to have, or you're not having the kind of friends that you want to have, or you're lacking in some area of your life, or maybe you're feeling something is holding you back at work, then maybe look at your weaknesses and take a look at what you're not so good at. And if you take that strength survey on AuthenticHappiness.com, then you're gonna see they're gonna list your weaknesses as well. And so that's probably gonna give you a few immediate realizations about areas in your life that could be improved if you worked on those weaknesses. And then you can come up with ways to work on those weaknesses and get those a little bit up and more in line with your strengths. And then you'll find that once you've got your strengths and your weaknesses kind of at the same level, or at least you bring up your weaknesses, you're going to have less struggle in your life. And it's also a great growth process, because as you're struggling to overcome your weaknesses, even though it's much more challenging than working on your strengths, you're going to find that you're growing, you're realizing new things, you're learning new things about yourself that you haven't really known before, and you're going to get a lot of reward from that. You're going to get a lot of fulfillment from that, even though it is going to be challenging. So the bottom line is work on both your strengths and your weaknesses. It's not the case that one is better than the other. It's going to really depend on what your situation is, and over the course of your life, you're going to find that you're going to have points in your life where you're working a lot on your strengths. You're going to have points in your life where you're going to be working on a weakness. You're going to have points in your life where you're doing a combination of both. And so that's something that you're just going to have to feel out and figure out what's right for you in this particular moment in time. So go ahead and take that strengths assessment if you haven't. It'll tell you about your strengths and your weaknesses. It's free. It can be found on AuthenticHappiness.com. So that's it for this video. If you have any comments, go ahead and leave them.